You found yourself on another edition of Let 'em Know Kings United, and on today's episode, back-to-backs in the NBA suck, especially if you are a Cavs, Bulls, and Kings fan, as the Cavaliers played one good half against the Boston Celtics, but still lost. The Chicago Bulls looked absolutely lifeless against the Denver Nuggets, despite a controversial ejection by Nikola Jokic, and the Clippers just dominate the Sacramento Kings. All three of them fell to the second night of the back-to-back trap. We're going to break down all three losses right here on Let 'em Know Kings United. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast of the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Chicago Bulls. This is Let 'em Know Kings United. Let 'em know, Nation, you already know what time it is. Welcome to another edition of Let 'em Know Kings United, your Sacramento Kings, Chicago Bulls, and Cleveland Cavaliers post-game reaction podcast. And I'm your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you so much for tuning into today's program. And you can find Let 'em Know Kings United, which is 100% completely free and available on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, and wherever else you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms. If you can, please turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. It is a great way to support the podcast, and I appreciate every single one of you that are tuning in to today's show. You know, in sports, there are always going to be back-to-backs, right? I mean, we sometimes get the only back-to-back we get in the NFL are Sunday and Monday for football. In NHL, you play a whole lot of back-to-backs. More specifically, a few years ago, my hockey team, the Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights, were playing a whole lot of back-to-backs, and they wanted to make a whole lot of excuses. They wanted to make a whole lot of complaints. But at the end of the day, those back-to-backs helped them because they're the reigning, defending, undisputed Stanley Cup champions. In this case, in NBA, back-to-backs are just common. And some teams benefit from it. Other teams hurt from it. I think all three of our teams hurt from the second night of the back-to-back, as all three teams, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Bulls, and the Sacramento Kings, all fell to the second night of the back-to-back trap. Now, clearly, Sacramento has fallen into the trap, and they don't know how to learn from it. But I'm going to save the Sacramento Kings for last because I got a whole lot to say about them. First and foremost, I want to talk about some kind of a marquee matchup, some would say, between Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics, who are still the only undefeated team in the NBA that hasn't lost at home. They are the best home court team in the NBA, behind the Orlando Magic, who is the second best record in the East, and arguably all of NBA at home. Boston defeated Cleveland 120-113 in a game that I thought it was just a tale. I would say a tale of two halves, but that's a cliche at this point. I think this was a game where the Cleveland Cavaliers became complacent at halftime, and the Boston Celtics burned them for it. Why do I say that? Let's look at the first quarter. The Cleveland Cavaliers came out of the gate strong. 31-21. The Cavaliers outscored Boston in the first quarter. You could probably argue that that was the best first quarter we played all year. Based on my viewing, I mean, I've seen games where the Cleveland Cavaliers tend to struggle in the first quarter, but at this point, this was a really good start for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I thought the Cavaliers came out of the game strong. They set the tone. They made Boston play on their heels, and that's what you're supposed to do, right? When a team has not played since Friday, I'm speaking of Boston here, you need to take advantage of that and set the tone for the game. Credit to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first quarter, they did that. Now, I wanted to see if the Cleveland Cavaliers could sustain it. If they couldn't have sustained that energy for all three quarters. Clearly, they did not do that. Clearly, they did not know that Boston is a good team. Clearly, they did not know the superstars that they got over there with Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Mauser that made threes out of nowhere, Al Horford, who is a defensive general. They got some players. They got some dogs over there. And I knew that the Boston Celtics won't be down for long. And if you are a Cleveland Cavalier player that is listening to this right now, or a Cleveland Cavalier fan that are listening to this right now, you should have probably knew that Boston would not be down for the count for long. And Cleveland got exposed. They got exposed by Boston. Derek White specifically. I want to talk about how poor and how pathetic the Cavalier defense was. They were hedging screens incorrectly. They were not switching. They were not communicating. They were leaving shooters like Derek White wide open. They allowed Boston to shoot threes and get themselves back into the game. Now, I don't know who to blame here. I don't know if I could blame Luke Walton, who doesn't even deserve to be in the coaching staff to begin with, or J.B. Bickerstaff, who once again makes the Cavaliers feel weak. I never thought I would say that about my Cleveland Cavaliers, but I'm going to say it right now. J.B. Bickerstaff has made this Cleveland Cavalier team soft as hell. They were the number one defense in the NBA last year, but I knew that was fake stats. I knew that this defensive energy wouldn't last. Evan Mobley out for the third straight game. I knew we were in trouble. I knew we were in trouble because Jared Allen couldn't keep his composure. There was not an ounce of game rebounding. Cleveland came out strong and dominated the first quarter. Boston, they were chipping away all game until the final minutes of this game. And Boston just took complete control. Jason Tatum said this was a good win, especially with the way we started out the game. It could have went south early, but we stuck with it, and we were just thankful only be down by 10 in the first quarter. And I want to talk about Boston. Boston, to me, right now, is the gold standard in the NBA. They have the best lineup in the NBA. They have one of the best defenses in the NBA. The coach, it's questionable for me. I think Joe Mazzulla is not an NBA-type coach. But when you got superstars like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum on your team, I guess you could say that was an excuse. But Jason Tatum had a double-double, 25 points and 10 rebounds. Jaylen Brown also scored 25 points. Kristaps Porzingis had 21 and 10. Derek White added 17 points, and Boston held the Cavs scoreless for a stretch of 2 minutes and 40 seconds in the fourth quarter, while finally putting away the Cavaliers, who had played on the road on the night before when they got embarrassed and smoked by the Orlando Magic. Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland were the only two Cleveland Cavaliers that responded. 29 and 26 points respectively. The Cavs couldn't overcome the cold stretch in the fourth quarter. Cleveland was also out-rebounded 45-35 in the opener of a two-game series and was outscored, I cannot believe I'm saying this, 26-6 in the foul line. In the foul line, you get outscored? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No wonder why you are not one of the best teams in the East that I thought. No wonder why the Knicks exposed you. No wonder why Boston exposed you. And both teams play again tomorrow in Boston. I can only imagine how that went. I can only imagine how that's going to go. Because right now, the Boston Celtics have a whole lot of momentum. And right now, Cleveland is playing like they are on the outside looking in. Strus added 17 points and 9 rebounds for the Cavs, who set a season high with 19 three-pointers. Cleveland was coming off a 104-94 loss on Monday against Orlando when we scored just 15 points in the third quarter. Cleveland started strong on Tuesday, opening the game with an 18-4 run, but could not maintain the pace. Kristaps Porzingis said this: they came out very aggressive, and we came out a little bit not as aggressive. They punched first. By halftime, we were close, but in the second half, I felt like we really turned it on. And Karis LeVert said, I think they were more organized offensively. They kind of knew what they wanted to get. They got into it, and they made shots. On the other end, we kind of were a little disorganized, didn't necessarily get the ball where we wanted to every single time, and they took advantage. Coaching is a big part of this. Joe Mazzulla, I got to give you credit. You outcoached the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second half. You outcoached J.B. Bickerstaff and the entire Cavaliers team in the second half. You made adjustments, and Cleveland didn't. I saw Cleveland play lifeless, disorganized, as Karis LeVert said, and I agree with him. And especially if you want to get in to the playoffs again and prove to not only yourselves, but prove to Donovan Mitchell that Donovan deserves to stay in Cleveland, you're going to have to learn how to win games like this. You're gonna have to learn the winning mentality that is required in order to win. We got into a strong start, but we couldn't maintain the finish. We couldn't maintain it for the other 36 minutes. You need to play all 48 quarters in order to win, Cleveland. I think you didn't do that. I think what happened was, as the game went on, Boston knew that this Cavalier team is average. With no Evan Mobley, we are an average basketball team. I don't give a damn that we have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland on our roster. Without Evan Mobley, we are an average basketball team. We are average, bottom of the middle, soft as hell. And Boston, to their credit, exposed Cleveland, exposed us for 36 minutes of this game. Now we need to play like we wanted it on Thursday. But I don't think that's going to happen because Boston is the standard and we're not. 26-6, the free throw line percentage. That is a big difference in this game, people. That is a big difference between the Boston Celtics and the Cavs. Boston was getting aggressive. They were drawing fouls. Cleveland was complacent, and they did not play with any physicality at all. As far as the other stats, Cleveland shot 47% from the field. Boston 45. 3-point percentage, Cleveland 42. Boston 40. The rebounds, 45-35 in favor of Boston. The assists, 27-23 in favor of Cleveland. The assist or steals, I'm sorry, were 9-6 in favor of Boston. The blocks were 9-4 in favor of Cleveland. The fast break points were 9-9. The points of the paint were even at 34. The fouls, 18-13. I think the Cavs did a terrible job on defense. You need to defend without fouling. You don't do that, you get hurt. And that is exactly what happened. Darius Garland, 26 points, 7 assists, a steal, and a couple of boards. Donovan Mitchell, 29 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. Jared Allen, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks. You came out really strong late, but you're still soft as hell. Max Strus, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. Karis LeVert, off the bench, finished with 11 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. Tristan Thompson, 2 points, 4 rebounds, including 3 of them on the offensive end. But where the hell was Craig Porter Jr., huh? Where the hell was CPJ? I thought this was a game where Craig Porter Jr. could have been used. But does JB do that? No. No, because he doesn't know how to coach. Jason Tatum, 25 points, 10 rebounds, a double-double for him with 2 blocks. Jaylen Brown, 25 points, 4 assists, a steal, a block, and 2 boards. Kristaps Porzingis, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, a steal, and 3 assists. Derek White, he killed the Cavs, especially late. 17 points, 5 of 8 from 3-pointers. All of them came late with 4 rebounds and 4 assists. Boston is just a better team than Cleveland. And I don't know if this loss exposed the Cavs. I think it did. But if Boston beats Cleveland again tomorrow, then there's nothing that needs to be said. There's nothing that needs to be said. The Cavs, lifeless for 3 quarters, and Boston took advantage. Simple as that. Coming up next, the Chicago Bulls had a golden opportunity to beat the Denver Nuggets thanks to a controversial ejection. But they didn't take advantage of that, and Denver beat the Bulls. I'm going to get into that when we come back on Let 'Em Know Kings United. We're back here on Let 'Em Know Kings United. We are talking about how back-to-back losses suck, especially the second night of the back-to-back. And in the case of the Chicago Bulls, I'm not going to go completely off on them, even though they lost to the Denver Nuggets by a final score of 114-106. Mind you, the Denver Nuggets are the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champions, and they played like champions, where they rallied around their superstar, Nikola Jokic, who got wrongfully ejected in the second or towards the end of the first half, and the bench of the Denver Nuggets completely dominated the Chicago Bulls all night long. But before I get into how much this really hurts the Bulls, which to a certain extent I can understand why the Bulls lost this game. I mean, they played a tough game the night before against the Milwaukee Bucks, which for the second time this season, the Bulls took the Bucks into overtime, and they must have had really tired legs after playing the night before. I can understand that as a certain extent. Not completely, but to an extent, I can understand that. But the Nuggets were already shorthanded coming into this game. They were playing without their superstar point guard in Jamal Murray, who had 29 points and 9 rebounds in Monday night's win against the Atlanta Hawks. Murray has been dealing with a sore right ankle, and he rolled his left ankle in the first quarter against the Atlanta Hawks, which Denver had a really big lead against Atlanta. Now, Denver was able to come back and hold on for the win against the Atlanta Hawks, but Atlanta, I think weakened Denver to the point where the Chicago Bulls were thinking, we need a response. We need a good bounce-back game. But unfortunately, that didn't happen because Nikola Jokic was ejected in the second quarter. KCP was held out in the second half after a collision with Nikola Vucevic. And Jamal Murray, just like I mentioned, he did not play at all. But the rest of the Denver Nuggets completely picked up the slack. And this is why I think Denver might repeat as champions. They're a deep-ass team. I'm telling you right now, their team is deep. They got a deep bench. They got a lot of depth. And they got a lot of players that know their role. Reggie Jackson, DeAndre Jordan most specifically killed the Bulls for the most part. Mostly Reggie Jackson, who had 25 points to help the shorthanded Denver Nuggets hold off the Bulls for a 114-106 victory last night. Michael Malone said, we have an expectation to win the game no matter who is playing, and all credit to the Denver Nuggets. They did what they were supposed to do. They responded like champions do, right? They had a big lead against Atlanta, and they allowed the Hawks to get back in it. I didn't feel that kind of a vibe from the Chicago Bulls in this game. I think the Bulls were flat. I think we had little to no energy throughout the game, even though Kobe White is playing like an all-star caliber player. He led Chicago with 27 points, continuing his hot streak. Vucevic had a really good game. He had 26 points and 16 rebounds. He had a first half where he was simply matching the energy of Nikola Jokic. But once Jokic got out of there, which I'm going to get to in just a second, I think Nikola Jokic was Vucevic, was completely out of energy. He said it was right there. The second half, they took it to us, and from there, it was just difficult to get back in the game. And I completely agree with that. You know, after an overtime thriller the other night, I knew the Bulls were going to come into this game with a lot of tired legs, right? You played really hard against Milwaukee, and I'm going to give them that. But now it's to the point where after 4 straight wins, the Bulls have now 2 consecutive losses. Is it something that they're able to come back from? The way this team's playing right now, I'm saying yes. This is something that the Chicago Bulls could grow on. Because with no Zach LaVine, this team is connected. This team plays hard. This team plays with heart. This team plays with passion. And I love to see that. But what I didn't see tonight from the Bulls is a leader. I didn't see a leader that got into his guys, shows them what they were supposed to do, especially on the defensive end. With no Nikola Jokic for Denver and off a second night of a back-to-back, you needed an Energizer bunny. You know, the pink bunny from the Energizer commercials. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know. You needed a guy that is like the human energizer that helps you keep going and going and going and going and going and going. And I can keep going all night. Somebody stop me. You needed a guy that is the floor general, the leader of the team. And no disrespect to Kobe White. He's growing in his leadership. He's growing in his leadership in stats, but he needed to be a voice for the Bulls. And I don't think Kobe White is a voice for the Bulls yet. What the Bulls needed is Alex Caruso, who didn't play this game because he was resting it because of an ankle injury. Now, we know Zach LaVine was out of the game due to right foot inflammation. And honestly, Zach LaVine, you need to get the living hell out of Chicago, my boy. Well, I don't know why the hell you still here. But They rested Alex Caruso for the second straight game because of a sprained left ankle. And head coach Billy Donovan made it sound as if Caruso could return soon. Here's what he said. The fact that he's even going on the court to try to get himself ready to play, I think would indicate that he's pretty close to coming back. It's just how much he feels like he can do. Now, speaking of going back into the game, if Alex Caruso played, then I would have been more confident in the Bulls winning, because when Nikola Jokic got ejected, the Bulls needed a leader. They needed a floor general. They needed a voice. No disrespect to Kobe White, but you weren't it. You weren't it. You were as far as the stats go, but as far as leadership, I did not see that from you tonight. You needed a floor general like Alex Caruso. He wasn't there, and that's part of the reason why they lost this game. And another big reason why the Chicago Bulls lost this game, in my view, they did not take advantage of Nikola Jokic being ejected. So here's what happened. The Joker, the NBA champion, two-time MVP, was thrown out of the game for the language he directed toward an official. I think the crew chief, Mark Lindsay, threw Jokic out after two whistles for a technical foul by official Musa Dagner. He used direct foul language directed toward an official after he felt that he was fouled when he missed a reverse layup with 1 minute and 12 seconds left in the first half. I will say this, that was clearly a foul by Nikola Vucevic. Nikola Jokic was absolutely right. I felt that Jokic got fouled. That should have been 2 shots for the Joker after he got fouled by Nikola Vucevic. The two-time NBA MVP said something in the direction of an official as he made his way back down the court. Jokic said, "I crossed the line," but sometimes that word didn't cross the line. Mark Lindsay, the crew chief of the referee crew, also was vague when asked about the exchange. He said, "We don't typically get into exactly what a player said, but the language reached the standard for an ejection." And by the way, the Joker declined to get into further details because he wanted to avoid a fine by the NBA. And I do not blame Nikola Jokic for being mad. I don't blame Nikola Jokic for arguing with the official. I think the ejection of the Joker was completely wrong. It was completely uncalled for. My view is the Joker deserved at least a technical. Give him a technical foul, let him keep his cool, and let him stay in the game. For the officials to throw a two-time MVP out of the game due to arguing a call that I believe it was justified because Nikola Vucevic fouled the Joker, it's just unbelievable. It was shocking. The NBA referees as a whole need to do better, bro. The officials in the NBA need to do better. And you know what's tragic about this? I don't know what Nikola Jokic said to the Denver Nuggets in the locker room, but it seems as if the Joker made the Nuggets rally around him, and that's what ultimately happened. As Joker said, the defense was where it was supposed to be, and the guys executed. It was a good win for us because we had a couple of guys step up in a different position. If you were the Bulls, you had a golden opportunity to take advantage of this. But you didn't. You didn't because you came out in the second half flat, and you had a mentality of, let's just play one half and let's give up the rest of the game. Sure, you had tired legs. Sure, it was a second night of a back-to-back. But it's absolutely no excuse for a Bulls team that wants to improve. And could you argue that this was a winnable game against the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champions? You could. You could. But at the end of the day, Denver are champions for a reason, and they ultimately did what they were supposed to do. But I am still proud of how the Bulls are playing these last 4 games. Even though they lost 2 straight, I am confident that the Bulls are going to bounce back. Now, it's going to be really hard against the Miami team that has the winning culture under Eric Spoelstra, who are really good of moving with or without the ball. If they could split against Miami, I will be happy with that. If they win both games against Miami, that will be great too. But I do not see the Bulls losing 2 straight against Miami. Maybe 1 and they can salvage a split. But they have a well-deserved day off. They can rest and they can focus on Miami. As far as the stats, the Denver Nuggets completely dominated every aspect. 47% from the field compared to 41. The free throw percentage, 91% for the Bulls, 68% for the Denver Nuggets. 3-point percentage, 46% to 32% in favor of the Denver Nuggets. The rebounds, 46 for Denver, 41 for Chicago. The assists, 28-26 in favor of Denver. The steals were 6-4 in favor of the Bulls. But the blocks were 9-4 in favor of the Bulls. The points in the paint, 44-38 in favor of Denver. The fast break points were 16-9 in favor of Chicago. But the big difference was bench points. And Denver completely outscored them 50-53, I believe, to 26 off the bench. Not good. Reggie Jackson was a big-time player that made big-time plays, 25 points, 6 assists, and a couple of rebounds. Nikola Jokic, in the 16 minutes that he played, finished with 4 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Michael Porter Jr., 17 points. He was 2 for 8 from the free throw line, but he contributed in big ways as well. 7 rebounds and a steal. Aaron Gordon finished with 14 points, 7 rebounds and 6 assists. But this guy coming off the bench, Strother, he was big for the Denver Nuggets tonight. 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. He also had a steal. He was 2 for 5 from 3-point range. This guy could flat out shoot the ball. DeMar DeRozan finished with 14 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds. Kobe White continues to prove why I think he is the most improved player in the NBA. He finished with 27 points, 8 assists, a steal, and a couple of boards. Nikola Vucevic had a big night, especially in the first half, with 26, 16, and 5. Look, this was a tough loss for Chicago, given that it was a second night of a back-to-back, but this is a loss that I'm not mad. They ran into a better team, and you had to expect it, right? You had to expect a tough game after an overtime throw the other night. Just keep grinding. Chicago is going to be fine. But what I am worried about is the Sacramento Kings. They are struggling in the second night of a back-to-back, and this is becoming a trend that I am a little worried about. But I have a very passionate speech about how Sacramento looked embarrassed against LA, and I'm going to talk about them when we come back on Let 'Em Know Kings United. Final segment here on Let 'Em Know Kings United, and I don't know how I'm going to talk about this. I don't know how I'm going to describe this to you, but I'm going to try the best way possible to not lose my cool, but I'm going to. The Sacramento Kings got absolutely punked, destroyed, embarrassed, disgusted, and right now the Sacramento Kings are not to be trusted. Shout out to my man Mark Jones. They got beaten down 119-99 off the second night of the back-to-back, and 2 games in a row. 2 games in a row. Who was the opponent on the second night of the back-to-back, huh? The same old LA Clippers. The same old LA Clippers that clowned you after a win against the Golden State Warriors. The same LA Clippers that smoked that Sacramento Kings pack after the Sacramento Kings held a 3-point barrage against the Brooklyn Nets. After a history-making night where Sacramento was drilling nothing but threes, the Sacramento Kings couldn't do diddly squat against the LA Clippers. And by the way, the Clippers, they're one of the hottest teams in the West right now. And I think Tyronn Lue deserves a whole lot of kudos. From the moment that I saw Russell Westbrook saying, hey, this lineup that we have now with me, James Harden, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard, this ain't working. This ain't working. I volunteer to come from the bench and lead the second unit. The moment I saw that, I was like, oh shit, I gotta keep an eye on these Clippers because these Clippers might be for real. And right now, they are for real. They're not just for real, they are too legit to quit. Because now they have the NBA's longest active winning streak. That is 5 straight victories. And by the way, Kawhi Leonard, last year, he sat in the second half of back-to-backs because I don't know if it was like tough games for Kawhi Leonard last year or maybe it was injury related. But this year, this is a totally different Kawhi Leonard. He looks like the Toronto Raptors Kawhi Leonard. Hell, he even looks like the San Antonio Spurs in his prime Kawhi Leonard because he is healthy and highly productive. Kawhi Leonard said this, just being healthy has been good. He tore his ACL during the 2021 playoffs. Paul George, now he left this game due to injury. He dove on the floor for a loose ball in the first half and didn't play in the second because of a sore left groin. Coach Tyronn Lue said George could have returned if needed. Lue said, I didn't like that. Noting George's multiple shoulder injuries. It just shows you that these guys wanted to win. And adding James Harden has given the LA Clippers a single-handed playmaking weapon that the Sacramento Kings wish they had, but they didn't. Lue said we're locked in defensively. That's where it all starts for us. When we're getting stops and getting out of transition, we are a hard team to beat. And you know what? Tyronn Lue, right now, you are looking like the favorite for Coach of the Year right now. I see 2 coaches or 3 that might be Coach of the Year contenders. Tyronn Lue for the LA Clippers, clearly. Jamal Mosley from the Orlando Magic. And I guess you could put Mazzulla for Boston, but I don't know if that's gonna be legitimate because I think normally Coach of the Year goes to the team with the most improved record. Mike Brown, oh no, you're not retaining this. You are not retaining this. The Kings, coming into this game, had won 5 out of 7, including a win against Brooklyn, but they were overwhelmed by the Clippers from the second quarter on. It was a close game, 32-24 at the end of the first quarter, but let's be honest. Let's be honest here. It was not even close. It wasn't close all damn night. All damn night. I didn't see any fight from Sacramento. I didn't see any physicality on the defensive end that Katie Christensen talked about. The LA Clippers simply outplayed the Sacramento Kings. And you know what's upsetting about this? And you know why I'm mad right now? This same Clippers team was on a second night of a back-to-back too. And they avoided a trap game against the Portland Trailblazers the other night. While the Sacramento Kings held a 3-point barrage at home against the Brooklyn Nets the other night, the Clippers avoided a trap game against Portland. They did find a way to win against Portland. I'm speaking of the LA Clippers. But I think Tyronn Lue, after the game, said, this can't happen. This can't happen. We cannot play another trap game against a Sacramento Kings team that supposedly is very good. Supposedly, they have a really good offense. I didn't see that. I honestly didn't see that. What I saw was the LA Clippers running up and down the floor, getting whatever the hell they wanted on both ends of the floor. The Clippers outworked the Sacramento Kings. They outplayed the Sacramento Kings. And I want to give credit to the LA Clippers because they are a much better team than Sacramento is right now. I don't give a damn about Sacramento having De'Aaron Fox, who had a really good game. He had 14 points in the night. Domantas Sabonis had 15 points and 10 rebounds, but who gives a damn? Keegan Murray led Sacramento with 17 points scoring, but who gives an actual damn? The LA Clippers simply punked each and every single one of y'all. Every single one of y'all. You were punked, you were embarrassed, you were outplayed, you were outworked. You got it. I'm trying my hardest to calm my rage, but I am stressed and disgusted, and right now I cannot be trusted. And I do not trust the Sacramento Kings right now. I don't. Harrison Barnes, 2 points. Davion Mitchell, only 1 point. What are we doing? Huh? Answer that! What are we doing? Getting punked by the LA Clippers? Twice in a row? Not once, but twice! You get punked at home, and now you let the LA Clippers punk you. Mike Brown said we got our behinds kicked, and that's twice by this team. We had no answers. The thing that's most concerning is sometimes you just got to fight. And tonight, we didn't fight. And that is the biggest takeaway from this game. I think at the end of the day, I hear about what Sacramento was talking about during the offseason. And my man Matt George from Locked On Kings, shout out to him. He constantly talks about how the Sacramento Kings want to be from good to great this year. From a good team that nobody saw coming to a great team that wants to be a contender for championships. But I got to tell everybody the truth. I got to tell all Sacramento Kings fans the cold, hard truth and give y'all a dose of reality. The reality is this Sacramento Kings team isn't great. This Sacramento Kings team is not good. They are average as hell in every single aspect of the game. I don't give a damn about De'Aaron Fox. I don't give a damn about Domantas Sabonis. Keegan Murray had a big game, but who gives a damn? The Sacramento Kings as a whole are average. They are nowhere near the level of a Denver Nugget. They are nowhere near the level of the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are the best team in the Western Conference right now, even though they are going to collapse late in the year, because that is a fake stat right here, right now. They are nowhere near the level of the LA Lakers with LeBron James and AD, and they are certainly not in the level of the LA Clippers, who, by the way, are 9-3 at home, and we are 6-6 on the road. This time last year, the Kings were the same record, 13-9. I think the Kings did not get better. They didn't. And in the offseason, I think Sacramento was complacent. If I can be real with you, I think Sacramento's decision of running it back with Harrison Barnes and adding Chris Duarte was a really, really bad decision. I think, honestly, if I'm honest with you, the trade deadline isn't going to do crap for the Kings this year. You need to get rid of Harrison Barnes. He is holding us back to where we want to go. I need to see a different wing player, because Harrison Barnes, you ain't it. You had a good opening night in the beginning of the year, but right now, you ain't jack squat. I am embarrassed. I am embarrassed. This is the worst loss that I've ever seen the Kings play all year. The Houston loss, this doesn't even blow into comparison, because this is not once, but twice that you got punked by the LA Clippers. What the hell? What are we doing? This is disgusting. You're not the Sacramento Kings that I know. You are playing like queens. Punk ass queens. And Oklahoma City is coming in here in a 6-game homestand starting tomorrow. They have all the momentum in the world. I know SGA is going to cook us. I know Chet Holmgren is going to cook us. Why? Because the Sacramento Kings do not know how to play with urgency. You got punked by Kawhi Leonard not once but twice. You got punked by Tyronn Lue not once but twice. And right now, Mark Daigneault, you have my permission to cook the Sacramento Kings team again because they don't know how to win. Average. Not great. Not good. Not even decent. This was an average performance by the Sacramento Kings. They are an average team. And right now, the Sacramento Kings are pretenders. And the Clippers, as of right now, they are my contenders to win not only the Pacific Division, but one of the dark horses in the Western Conference. Sorry for my passionate rant, y'all. I'm just heated right now. But anyway, let me calm down and try to talk the stats. 52% for the field for the LA Clippers. Simply put, the LA Clippers were dominant all night. I think the Sacramento Kings won the assist battle 27-21. And the free throw percentage, Sacramento continues to be the worst in that category. Kings couldn't make a three, 10-37. Clippers didn't make a whole lot of threes either. But they won in the paint 62-48. The fast break points were 12-7 in favor of Sacramento. The steals were 8-7 in favor of the Kings. The blocks were 2 even, but the Clippers just played better. They played better than the Kings in every single aspect of the game. And the Kings right now, like I said in my passionate rant, they got punked. They were soft. They were not physical. They did not execute the game plan. And Mike Brown and the coaching staff needs to figure this out. Because the second night of the back-to-back doesn't help the Kings at all. And until Sacramento figures it out, I can't trust them. I cannot trust the Sacramento Kings anymore until they show me they want to win. Until they show me that they want to beat teams like the New Orleans Pelicans and the LA Clippers. And let me say this before I get to the box score. The Clippers and the Kings matchup, it's not a matchup issue. The Pelicans are a complete matchup issue. But when it came to the LA Clippers and the Kings, 2 times, it's not a matchup issue with the Kings getting pumped by the Clippers. It's a mentality and an urgency issue. I think the Kings do not have the mentality of staying locked in and staying focused during back-to-backs. At least that's what I'm seeing. Maybe some of you might agree with me on that. But Keegan Murray, he led the Sacramento Kings in scoring with 17 points, 7 rebounds, and he had 3 steals on the night. Domantas Sabonis, a double-double, 15 and 10, but he had a plus-minus of minus 23. De'Aaron Fox, he had 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, but he had a plus-minus of minus 14. And I don't know if there's any Sacramento King that was more impactful. Malik Monk, I don't know where the hell he was. He was flat with 8 points. He had a plus-minus of minus 20. Jerome Ford, he came into the game. He had 5 points. Plus-minus a plus 12. Edwards did really well with a plus-minus plus 12 with 7 points. But at the end of the day, the Kings just got punked by Kawhi Leonard, who finished with 31 points. He had 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. He had a plus-minus, a plus 21. Norman Powell was great off the bench for them with 15 points. He was 2 for 4 from 3 with 2 assists, and he had a plus-minus, a plus 26. James Harden, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Russell Westbrook off the bench with 8 points. And This is embarrassing. I hate that I got to come on here and give you a very passionate rant about the Kings, but if you get punked by the LA Clippers twice, if you act like you got punked, you're going to get punked. And hopefully this lights a fire in Sacramento's ass going against Oklahoma City against the OKC Thunder in starting of a 6-game homestand. But right now, I don't see it. I don't see the fight. I don't see the passion. I don't see the grit. I don't see the physicality. Like I said, Sacramento, y'all are pretenders. You're not good. You're not even great. You're average. You're stale and you're average. Clippers, however, complete contenders in the Western Conference, and they deserve to be recognized as contenders the way they're playing right now. That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings United. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Radio Public, Pandora, and wherever else you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms. Turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends. Give Let 'Em Know Kings United a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. I am your host, Skylar Weisberg. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to take a couple of days off to calm down and rest my voice, do whatever I got to do. But I will see you right back here for another episode of Let 'Em Know Kings United.